Hello, this is Bryan here doing the interview for Sticks for Stones, and thanks for having me. And first question, the show I did with the Aristocrats a few years ago in Brisbane. Yes, we enjoyed that tour. It was great for the Aristocrats to finally get down to Australia. It's not easy for a band like us to get down there and make it work, and we're very grateful to the people at Thump Music who helped make it happen, and all the great fans who came out to see us in Perth and Adelaide and Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane. Those were the 5 shows that we did down there. And of course, there's some great music going on in Australia. Some friends of mine, I'm friends with some of the Carnival guys, and especially John Stockman, because I was so into the bass sound on Sound Awake and the whole production of that album. I reached out to them and got to meet them in Perth. And John is the one who introduced me to Forrester Saville, who's the one who ended up mixing Scenes from the Flood. And that show in Brisbane was the first time we ever met. So that was actually kind of a big show for me personally in terms of that solo album. But also the Aristocrats had a great time at all the shows that we did in Australia. So yeah, it was a blast. Okay, question 2. The new album, Scenes from the Flood. Thank you for the kind words. What inspired me and how to go about recording it? I had been a while since I'd done a solo album. My last solo album came out in 2008, and I'd lived 5 years. I'd moved halfway across the United States and had changed a lot of things in my life. And in 2013, I started traveling a lot more for work, for music, touring, and some things were changing, and some things I thought I knew weren't really working out the way that I had imagined they would. And I was a bit confused. And it somehow started showing up in the music. Like I was starting to work some of that out in the music that I was doing. So a couple melodies popped into my head in late 2013. And when that happened, I realized, wait a minute, this is not really Aristocrats music. It feels a little bit maybe more serious. And I think I'm starting to write another solo album. So over the next few years, and it was years, more and more ideas popped into my head because I was on tour almost constantly from 2013 to 2016. And just more and more stuff started popping up in my head, and I didn't have any time to demo it. So I started using the iPhone voice memo and making text notes, and next thing I knew, I had a bunch of song titles, 3, 5, 7. Then suddenly I had 10, 12, 14, and I was like, this isn't even a regular album anymore. This is a double album. And I kind of just kept going until at the end of 2016, I had 18 songs, 18 song titles in sequence, and I pretty much had the whole album in my head, which was crazy, and I just needed to demo it. So I took 2017 completely off the road, and I just did nothing but demo the album. And at the end of 2017, I had a full demo album, the whole thing. And then the next year and a half, I recorded it, and then we took 9 months to mix it. And Forrester and I, we worked together so closely. Forrester's amazing, just an absolute legend, pro. Just his ears are just the best, and very, very patient. And yeah, so finally, 5-6 years after it was kind of first originally conceived, it was done. So was it all my own compositions, or did the other musicians collaborate? No, there's no real collaboration, I would say. I did write it all in isolation, but there is one song out of the 18 that's a cover, and it's a cover of Janet Fetter's song, Angles and Exits. It's song number 14 in the sequence, or the end of vinyl side 3, if you want to look at it that way, because I do see it as 4 vinyl sides. And I just thought it was a really beautiful song. It's from her album This Close, which I highly recommend. Janet Fetter is Janetfed as in David ER. And yeah, so other than that, it's all my original music. And boy, it was weird to have so much original music just kind of floating around in my head all at once. So, and then how did I manage to get so many other guests to appear on the album? Well, I asked them. You don't ask, you don't get. But I also felt like if it was going to be 18 songs, 88 minutes, and it's going to have so many different scenes. I mean, there's a reason why the album is called Scenes from the Flood. There are scene changes. It wouldn't have been right, I don't think, to have all the same musicians, like maybe a group of 5 or 6 musicians playing every song on the album. I think that might have been a little bit ear fatiguing after a while. So I just wanted to make sure that different tonalities were coming and going. And then it was just a matter of asking the people who I was playing with. I mean, I know it maybe seems a little gratuitous, but Joe Satriani and John Petrucci and Mike Keneally and, Guthrie Govan and Gene Hoglan from DETHKLOK and Joe Travers and Ray Hearn from Haken. That was an exception. I did reach out to Ray, and I didn't know him because I wanted a different kind of sound than I was familiar with, and a different approach. But for the most part, these were people that I just knew. and I just figured I would just do what was right for the song. I was always trying to do what was right for this song. Okay, so when you listen to the album, you thought it would go well with a visual component. Do I like the idea of the music being used in an anime or video game? I'm not sure about a video game. But, I mean, visuals are important to me, and that's why each song has its own artwork. Like, I commissioned a cover art, really, for each of the 18 songs, in addition to the cover of the album. And the deluxe booklets, like the CD has two 20-page booklets, and the vinyl has a 24-page booklet, it's the double vinyl. And so you get, an image that goes along with each song, and that gives you some kind of clue as to what the song's meaning is and where it fits in the overall storyline. It's almost like a playbook in a way. So yes, I think that the visual components are important, but also I don't think you want to be too specific with visuals, because you want to leave some imagination for the listener to create their own. That said, there are 2 videos for the album. The song, the Storm, which is there's a video for that out already, and then that's just kind of like a simple animated video. And then there's going to be a live action video for the song Volunteer State, which is going to debut in August. So there's some clues, but I never really think about video games. I'm a Gen Xer, so video games to me are arcade games. I'm not sure that even translates these days. Who knows? Okay, DETHKLok. They will be doing a show at the Adult Swim Festival in November. I'm not playing it because I'm going to be on a tour with the Aristocrats in Europe. So imagine my frustration and disappointment about that, because I would love the DETHKLok gig. It's so much fun. It's such a great show, and of course I wish that it was still going on. As far as DETHKLok and Brendan Small and another season, that's above my pay grade. It has to do with the television network and Brendan, and I just can't comment on that. But of course, I hope and wish that it happens. I think just like many of the fans. Okay, so the Aristocrats album, you know what? Thank you so much for your kind words. We do not jam in the writing process. We write individually, and we make our demos, and then we present them to each other via email, because we're all capable of making our own demos. And we all title our own songs. So each songwriter gets 3 songs for the album, and then we produce them, and we write them, and we demo them, and we become the kind of leader for those songs. And each person in the band has 3 songs. That makes it kind of an equal 9-song album. So yeah, the album art was done by a German artist named Hajo Müller. It's Hajo Mueller, Hajo Müller, and it's really cute. Obviously, we just thought the idea of children's drawings would be kind of a fun way to go with this. Pigs, chickens, we're just trying to have fun. I don't think there's a whole need to kind of explain all that, other than we like playing with rubber chickens and toys on stage, and somehow they made it into the album artwork, and now it's a thing. Don't ask me how that happened. I don't even know. Hobbies. I am not into gaming. I spend a lot of time staring at the screen already when I'm working, so I try and get outside. I live in a remote area, so Australians can appreciate this. It's kind of mountainous, and it's beautiful, and I like to go hiking. So that's my little getaway. That's my hobby. I do that. And I also have a motorcycle, so I like to get out there on the open road and just kind of disappear. Spend a lot of time touring, and you're in urban centers all the time, lots of people. So when I get home, I really like to decompress and kind of get out into nature. So there you go. Some of my favorite movies, oh God. I like the classics, I like the Godfather movies, and I'm a Harry Potter guy. I think the Harry Potter movies are great. I read all the books. I don't actually watch that many movies, the truth be told. I work a lot and work, and then when I'm not working, I get away from the screen and I get out into the outdoors. That's kind of what I do. So there you go. Thank you so much for this interview. I guess that's the last question there. Let's see here. P.S. About a year after the Aristocrats tour, there's Guthrie. He's playing with Hans Zimmer. Oh, yeah. Well, Guthrie stands out in the crowd, doesn't he? I mean, he's got that crazy hair, and nobody looks like Guthrie. So anyway, thank you so much for the interview. Hope this works for you. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can email. Thanks. Bye.